Hey guys, this is how to change your climate control lights out if they're burnt out. First, this will work on 05 to, was it 08 or 010 Charger Magnum or 300s. It's pretty easy. You just got to pop out the front dash panel. You may need some kind of pry tool to pop the was it six clips out of there. If you're worried about scratching the rest of your dash, you'll want to use a plastic piece, not a knife or something metal. But you just simply pop out the dash like that, and then you're going to have your plug for your wiper, 4-ways, traction control, and also your plugs for your climate controls. So you just got to unplug that. Little tab right there, you push in the middle right here, and it'll release. The same way for the plugs down here. These ones can be a bit tougher. Just kind of push the tab and just kind of rock it back and forth until it breaks free. Next up, you bring this part inside. The step is to remove your controls from your dash bezel. Now you're going to want to pull these 4 black screws out of here. And for that, you are going to need a 4mm socket. And you can use a wrench, a screwdriver with a socket end on it. Just got to go through and remove all 4 screws. Alright, once you have all 4 screws out, this just simply pops out like that. Set this aside. Now on the back side of this, if you have there's some that are thick, some that are thin. My other Magnum has a thin one, and I'll show you the difference with that one compared to this one later in the video. But next, to get these 4 screws out, you will need a T10 socket or star bit. And just simply remove those 4 screws as well. Okay. Now also, before you can pull this off, you'll want to take all your dials and bring them to, I believe it was the second to the lowest position, and then just lift straight up on them. They'll have these little tabs here that have to line up with the slots on there. So then you'll be able to pull them straight up and off. And especially the first time, it may take a little bit of extra force. But like right there, you see I turned it just a hair to the right, and then it was able to pop free. That's to line up these 2 tabs with those 2 spots. Now once you have those off, you can set those aside, and it should, with this style, it should lift straight off. Now also on here, you're going to have a tab. There we go. A tab right here. You're going to have to push back, and a tab over there. You can see that one broke on me, but so you can take a knife or some kind of pry tool and ever so carefully once you get it up to that point, and stick your pry tool in there and just get it past that retainer right there, and then it should come free to this point. God, this autofocus is annoying. Okay, now you'll have this ribbon cable here, and to pull that off, let's see, just kind of get your finger under there and gently pull up on it, and the clip will come straight up and out. And there's your connections there. And those connect onto those pins there. So now you will have these little bulbs on there with those two little legs, and on the back side you will see, like right where the bulb was, you will see two spots like that. Now the bulb will be sitting on the other side, and you'll have two little spots like that, and you'll want to find every spot where there's a bulb at to test your connections. Now the easiest way, because LEDs are directional, current flows only one way through them. If you get them reversed, they will not light up, and you will think you did something wrong, or you burnt out the bulb or something. This is where you're going to want to take a voltmeter and set it to voltage right there, and then you will want to go out to your car. You want to plug this ribbon cable back in, so it'll be sitting just like this. Don't clip it back inside there yet. Just reconnect the ribbon cable here. Go out to your car just like this with your voltmeter, and take your probes here, and you're going to want to go to each location where there's a bulb at, flip it over to the back side, and you'll want to plug in your connections there. Turn on your headlights. Doesn't matter whether the car is on or off. You just got to plug it in, turn your headlights on, and then put one connection there and the other connector right there, and then look at your voltmeter. If it shows positive voltage, 11 or 12 volts, without the minus sign, that means that your common lead, your black lead, is connected to the negative side, the cathode side, and the positive, the red lead, is connected to the positive side. Now if you have a negative symbol, like what just flashed there for a second, if you have a negative one, that means your polarity is backwards, so that your red lead is on the negative side and your black lead is on the positive side. So once you figure out the polarity, I took a very fine tipped marker and drew me a positive and negative symbol, so that way I could remember when I get back inside which one is which. So I did that for each bulb location in every spot. And then there's also a bulb location just under the sticker here, or this foam pad. There's one right there, and one right there, there, and there. So you've got 12 bulbs total, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 12. So once you figure that out, you can come back inside and then get your soldering iron. Alright, once you have your soldering iron, you can use a butane powered one or a plugged in one, it doesn't matter. What does matter is your tip. You want a fine point tip like this to get onto these small pads here. So you're going to heat up one side, and so your bulb is going to be sitting in there pretty much like this. So you're going to heat up one side, and then with your other hand you're going to rock it out, and then you're going to heat up the right side pad, rock that out, and then you're just going to do this walking motion back and forth until the bulb breaks free out the other side. And then also, if you forgot where the location of the bulb is, let's see, there is a ring that they have printed on there. You can see just underneath there where they printed a ring to show you where the LED bulb goes. So in case you forget where your bulb went, that may be on there to help you. So now you have your bulb out, and you want to repeat that process for each and every bulb all the way across the board. And then once that's done, you are now ready to solder your resistors and LEDs in place. Now looking at the LEDs here, you will see one has a short pin and one has a long pin. And inside the LED, I don't know if you can see this, try and get it to focus. There you can see one has like an arm that reaches all the way across the LED. And then the one side has a short side. There you go. Now it's the long arm is on the left side, the short arm is on the right side. And then you want to keep that in mind with the legs of the LED that actually stick out that you solder together. The short leg is the cathode according to the data sheet that I got. For the LED, come over here to the computer, and I'm at digikey.com, and this is the exact LED that I bought. There's a part number, and the data sheet here will tell you which side of the LED is positive and negative. Right here it shows you the short leg on the LED is the cathode, which is the negative side, and the long side of the LED is the positive or anode side. So you want to keep that in mind. Cathode is the negative or the short lead. So once you have that information, that will help you out with the board over here. So now remember, we got the negative side, which the short lead goes to, and the positive side, which the long lead goes to. So you can see right there the LED, the short leg is on the left side. Now you want to be sure to keep your polarity correct once you flip it over and go to solder your LED into the board. So now the way I wired up my LEDs here with the resistors is basically like this. The negative comes in one side, goes through the resistor into the LED, out the other side of the LED, and into the second resistor, and then back into the board. That's the way I have mine wired up, because I tried it first with just one resistor, and the one resistor was 680 ohms, and I found that with that resistance level, when you try to adjust the dimmer switch on the headlight switch, the LED didn't dim down enough for me to my liking. So that's why I added the second resistor in there to bring the resistance up even more to, was it 1360 or something like that? I forget the math on that, but I doubled up on the resistance, and now when I go to dim my dash lights, the LEDs dim down to a level more of my liking. So that's why you see two resistors on here. You can buy a bigger resistor to fit your liking also. So what I did with the resistors here is, here, let me flip this camera around. What I did with this resistor here is I just bent the one side down 90 degrees like that, and then take the other side, flip that around so your leads look like that, and then take the lead, bend that back up like that 90 degrees, and that's how I have my resistors set. So then I did that with the second resistor, bend the leads around like that, and now I'd take this long side and take my board here and heat up the pad from the back side. I'd heat it up from the back side till it liquefied, and I'd take the long side of the resistor and push it through until the resistor was flat with the board. I did that for both LEDs, or both resistors. Heat up the one pad till it liquefied, push the resistor through till it's flat, and I did that for both resistors. So then you're left with this bent piece sticking up. Now the reason why I bent this over like this is so I can take a piece of heat shrink and push that over the resistor to cover up the leads, so that way there's no possible chance of shorting out anything else on the circuit board. And you just measure it, clip it off, take your heat gun or butane torch or lighter or something, and just shrink it down onto the resistor to lock it in place. And then, but I did that at the very end though. So then with the LED, keep in mind which side is the long side and which side is the short side. Remember, the short side, according to the data sheet, is the negative side. So then I take the LED, bend out the leads like that, and then just kind of saddle it over the resistors, kind of like that. You get the idea. Just saddle it over like that, and then if I have room on the board, I'll just twist the leads together. I'll just demonstrate for you here. I'll twist the leads together to hold the LED in place. And I'm just doing this as a demonstration for you for how I did it on here as I was doing it. So you have something that looks kind of like this. So you got your power coming in through the resistor into the LED, out through the other resistor, and back into the board. So now this is like a blown up view of how the LED and resistor is wired on the board here. And then once they're all twisted together like this, take your soldering iron with your tip on it. You heat it up until you can get solder to flow over the lead here. And then once that's soldered on, cooled off, you can then take your wire cutters and trim that off and get them nice and tight, nice and small like this. And then once you're done with that, then you take the heat shrink. Then you take your heat shrink, cut it to length, so you'd cut that much off, and then slide it over the resistor, and then you shrink it down with a lighter or something. Butane torch, whatever works for you, just as long as you do not fry the circuit board with your open flame. So that's pretty much how you get the LEDs soldered into the board. Now the other part is, with your LEDs, you have to make sure they do not interfere with any of these shrouds on the inside of your cover. If they do, like these bottom ones here did, I had to pull them down away, pull the resistors away from these, I believe they're called variable potentiometers or anything. I forget what they're called, but you have to get them away from those knobs to clear for these this shroud here. And then you can test fit it back onto your cover. Make sure everything lines up, and then you can connect it back to your ribbon cable there. Put it back together in reverse order. Together, set your board in there. Get your connector on there. This is quite difficult with only one hand, but let's see if I can do this. Get your connector lined up nice and straight. Connect it back on, just like so. And then slide your board back in gently. Don't want to break anything here. Line up your tabs. Get that in there nice and tight. Put this back on, and then you can go plug it back into your car now, test it to make sure everything lights up. Make sure everything lights up nice and evenly. And if it does, then you take your 4 screws, put them back in, tighten them down. Now remember, it's plastic, so you just want to do it by hand. And you just want to go until it's snug. Just go by hand. You'll feel it get to a point where it snugs. Don't go any tighter than that, or you will strip it out. Okay, so we got our 4 screws back in. We can flip it over. We can grab our knobs here. And remember, when you go to put them in, you got to line up these tabs with these slots over here. And push it down. Give it a spin, make sure it has full range of motion. Now we can take our dash bezel, bring it back over here, flip this over, stick it back in, and take those 4 screws and screw it back together. Okay, now once you've tested it, you got everything screwed back together, all 8 screws tightened down. Now you can take it, put it back in your car. Also, to give you an idea how to figure out what size resistor you need, you can go online, search LED calculator, and let's see, I think this one, yeah. Alright, source voltage. When I told you to turn your headlights on to figure out the polarity of your circuit board, you'll also want to get the voltage of your car running, because that'll jump up to 14 volts, 14 and a half volts roughly. When I tested mine and I revved the engine, it spiked to almost 15 volts. So we're going to put 15 volts for your source voltage, and then diode forward voltage and forward current. You're going to want to go back to the data sheet for your LED, and you're going to want to find the voltage and amperage. So you go down to the parameters here, and forward voltage here is 2.1 with a maximum of 2.5. So we're going to type in 2.1, and then the forward voltage 20 milliamps. Yes, 20 milliamps. So we're going to go back to that calculator there. Forward voltage 2.1 and 20 milliamps. And then click find resistor. It'll tell you 680 ohms with a half watt resistor. So then you go back to DigiKey here, and I found this 680 ohm resistor. Now again, I bought a bunch of extras, and when I used just one resistor, it didn't dim down as much as I wanted it to. So then that's why I put in the second resistor in series, is how I wired it. So that way it doubled up the ohms here from 680 to 1360, I think it is. Let me see if my math is right. Yeah, 1360. So if you want, you can search for a larger resistor, even a 1.5K, which is 1,500 ohms. You can use just one resistor in series. You don't have to use 2 of them like I did. You can buy just one bigger resistor. So this is what I ordered from DigiKey. They're in Thief River Falls, Minnesota. They did not sponsor me or anything. I just found them by word of mouth, and I like their selection they have. For me in Minnesota here, it's basically overnight shipping ground. I can order it today and possibly have it tomorrow because it's 1-day shipping to Minnesota. So that's just a recap of what I bought and where. You can buy resistors from anywhere else, or LEDs from anywhere else, like superbrightleds.com or anything. You just have to make sure that you can find this data sheet and get your forward voltage and your forward amperage. So that way you can plug in your calculator here and find the minimum sized resistor you need for that particular LED with the voltage in your car. Okay, now the last step is to plug your stuff back in. Start with the climate controls first. Sometimes it may help to shift this into neutral or drive with your foot on the brake, just to give you more room. But just reconnect all the plugs, and then make sure you don't have anything else in the way, and then give a push where all 6 retention clips are at, and give it a test, and you're done. Now with replacing the LEDs the way I did, there is potential for getting hot spots. Doesn't really show up the best in the camera, but there's a hot spot there, here, here, in the middle here, 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 and here. So there's kind of hot spots, but if that doesn't annoy you, then you're good to go. Otherwise, I've heard of people using LED strips across here, but that can also run into issues of space. Like I pointed out with those shrouds that come around down here, that could cause issues with running an LED strip across there. But there's another trick I'm going to show you in my other Magnum where I did blue to get these to light up better than they did before.